each one in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And these hospitals have been treating the atomic bomb survivors up to now. And from the experiences of these hospitals, we recognize that there have been physical symptoms such as leukemia as a long-term health effect of exposure to nuclear radiation. And beyond that, we also recognize social and psychological effect. When a nuclear explosion occurs, its impact is vast, extending across both space and times, creating a so-called nuclear...
I joined this meeting.
Why is it important for younger generations in Japan and beyond to remember what happened at Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Well, many people were turned to ash in an instance, and those who survived suffered long-term hardships with, their skin melting, their hair falling out, and many developed cancer. And it's important for younger generations to know it. But I would also like not only the younger generations, but also all generations to look directly at the fact. We should not forget the hardships of the atomic bomb survivors. Then, by knowing that, pursue humanity. And speaking of education, no matter how civilization we develop in the future through AI technology and other means, humanity is already clearly enshrined in international law. The international community must learn that the wisdom of mankind, such as international humanitarian law, must be protected, so that even if we unfortunately had an armed conflict, we can return to a normal life with as little impact as possible after the conflict. So with this knowledge, we hope that each and every one of us can develop a culture of nonviolence, respect to human rights, and continue to explore lasting peace. Thank you.
The joint statement with the International Committee of the Red Cross urges nuclear disarmament. What role does the Japan Red Cross Society see itself playing in that advocacy?
Our role is, of course, to put humanity, which is human life and dignity, at the center of nuclear weapons debates. And I think that it is always important to remember what happened under the mushroom cloud, which means looking into and or listening to individual stories.
After 80 years, what's your message to governments that are still relying on nuclear weapons for their national security?
Well, I believe that the goal of achieving a world without nuclear weapons is shared worldwide. So as long as nuclear weapons exist, the unacceptable risk of their use will persist. So the total elimination of nuclear weapons is the only way to eliminate all risks associated with these weapons. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement will work with determination and energy in cooperation with all states to achieve this goal.
Professor Seike, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very, very much indeed for joining us on the program today to speak about this very difficult subject, which sadly one that we continue to live with, even though it's been 80 years since what happened at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was Professor Atsushi Seike, who's the president of the Japanese Red Cross Society, talking to us on today, the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it was a very sad moment in history, effectively ending World War II, but the effects of what happened back then when the Americans dropped that atomic bomb are still being felt even to this day. You're listening to Channel Africa, where we bring you the African perspective, and the program is Rise and Shine. We've still got so much more to come. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in a short while. But first, it is now 7:30, which means it's time for your newsletter headlines with Joalane Tulo Ngwepe.
SABC News headlines. The African perspective.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning. Making headlines, South Africa has raised concerns with Eswatini over the arrival of a group of high-risk criminals deported from the United States. The individuals are from various countries and some of them have been convicted of serious crimes. Cameroon's Constitutional Council has dismissed an appeal by the opposition leader Maurice Kamto and confirmed he will not be allowed to stand as presidential candidate in elections in October. And finally, the interim leader of Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus, says he'll ask the country's election commission to hold national elections next February. I will have details on these and other stories at 8 o'clock.
SABC News headlines. The African perspective.
Now let's say good morning to Fikile Lengwati for the latest in sports. He's got our details.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
In this hour, we begin with football news. Defending champions Senegal opened their 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN campaign with a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Nigeria in their Group D opener at Aman Stadium in Zanzibar. The decisive moment came in the 74th minute when Christian Gomes calmly slotted the home after a swift counter-attack. Libase Goye initiated the move from midfield, finding Serigne Mokhtar Kawite, whose perfectly timed through ball released Gomes. This was the first ever CHAN meeting between the two nations. Senegal, champions in 2022, maintained their perfect record of winning every opening CHAN fixture, now 4 in a row. The result leaves Senegal top of Group D with 3 points, while Nigeria sit bottom and will need a positive outcome in their next fixture to keep their qualification hopes alive. On to boxing news. Women's boxing continues to make huge strides, with no less than 4 of the 7 bouts for Saturday's Women's Dame Zanzi Magic Card at Emperor's Palace to be contested between female fighters. Kaylee Swart and Simamgele Tuncheni will square off against one another of the vacant International Boxing Organization's Super Bantam